chauvinistic, pacifistic son of a bitch.
And welcome, long last, the episode of Natural Jules. I thought I'd change the format of this bit of my channel, this nature bit, because what I used to do is I used to check and even double check the facts and pictures. I used to write a script, then learn it obviously a little bit, especially when I talk about certain species of animals or plants in nature. I made sure that I got at least most of the facts that I told you about them right. And so I decided to change that. I decided to just sort of talk to you about what I know about the certain species that I'm about to introduce you to. Reasons why I decided to do this is there are actually three main reasons. Firstly, YouTube is not, I repeat, is not a channel or source of factual information. There are some brilliant factual channels in YouTube and videos and whatnot, but you have to be very cautious about the sources of their facts. So you need to check and double check. There are much better places for you to find information from. Second reason is simply that once I then film them, my lack of English vocabulary and my mind, when it starts to wander from point A to point B, I sort of get sidetracked and there might be some misinformation on these episodes, so better just keep it sort of like an opinion-based thing, not factual thing. And thirdly, simply I don't have got the time to study and write scripts. So there you go. I'm just gonna introduce you to some species, tell them what I know. You may check the facts then yourself if you are interested in, and correct me if I'm wrong there in the comments down below. This episode we are going to talk about the spruce. Yes, they are magnificent beasts, aren't they? Spruce is rather newcomer here in Finland after the last ice age some 10,000 years ago, when the ice cover melted, retrieved from the Finnish shores and soils. Other types of trees came first, the pine, then the birch and willows and every sort of thing. But then the spruce came some 5,000 years ago, when the climate changed a little bit to the colder side and was better for the spruce to grow. Spruce as a tree doesn't require that much light as the pine, for example, does. So the spruce will grow here. As you can see, there are small spruces here underneath, the huge ones. It will grow slowly, but then when the larger trees on top eventually die or tumble down, the small saplings already have got a head start over the other growing trees. Some leaf trees though, like birch for example, are very good at keeping the spruce at bay as well in the sapling years, especially when the branches are sort of flexible, and when they get the leaves on, they move about in the wind and they rub against the spruce and prevent it from growing little while. But then when eventually the birch dies, falls, or the branch breaks, or if the spruce finds a way around the pesky branch which is bothering it, then it will eventually just keep on growing there underneath. But it sort of slows it down a bit. and makes it more vulnerable again to parasites and diseases, which then can kill the spruce altogether. And then they form sort of very thick, very shadowy forest areas which have got a very certain type of feeling into them. That is due because they muffle sounds a bit. They regulate the temperature. They create a sort of like microclimates underneath their branches. There are in the summer times when the temperatures peak and have scorching heat waves and whatnot. Underneath these sort of thickets you get a little bit colder, and vice versa in the winter times when the temperatures drop to the freezing temperatures underneath the branches of huge spruce thickets. You get a little bit warmer, and the huge branches hold the snow coverage rather well up there, so underneath here there's relatively little amount of snow in the winter time, so grazing animals like rabbits and hares and deer and moose can more easily graze underneath the spruces, so they are important in that front as well. And the spruce is not as tough tree as the pine is, for example. There are quite many insects and mushrooms and bacteria which feed on spruce, which is very vulnerable to them. So huge areas of spruce type forest will be wiped out simultaneously even, and then they give the space again to other kinds of trees and animals and habitats. And it is when the large spruce tree falls or dies, it leaves a huge mark because it is so thick. It can grow even up to 40 meters upwards and be very, very thick and very large branching thing. And when it tumbles down, it creates a huge open area with different kinds of trees and plants on the forest floor can then flourish. They are remarkable things. And the branches host different types of lichens, and tits and other birds can hide their spiders and insects into the lichens and into the crevice of the branches and use them as to survive the harsh winter conditions. Spruce saplings especially are very good for the deer and elk when they grow their horns each year, and they are covered with skin at first, and then when they get fully grown, the skin starts to itch and start to peel off, and they use the spruces especially because the branches are thick and they are wide. They are very good to rub the skin off the horns into them, and they sometimes dig their pits on beside the spruces, which they then urinate in to tell the females that they are ready for coupling. So they play part in sort of love life of the most majestic things in Finnish forests as well. And now I know nowadays there is a problem, especially in the grove environments where there are sort of very sensitive environments which we need to protect because we have changed the ecosystem that much that they cannot sustain on their own. And when the spruce gets there and when it gets thicker, the trees such as aspen and birch, and which are very important species to those sort of environments, they suffer from the enormity of the spruce, because as we know the spruce needles has got acid in them quite a lot, and when they fall on the forest floor they slowly but gradually change the forest floor into a little bit more acidic, and then it is not as welcoming to other species. But again, the grove environment, we need to take care that they don't sort of get too crowded with the spruce, because that endangers the whole ecosystem there. But once again, that is our doing, because we have got a whole forest industry which uses spruce as well as pine, and we have decided to get rid of most of the spruce's natural parasites and mushrooms and bacteria and insects which use the spruce as their home and as their nutrient. And once we have done that, the spruce spreads more vigorously, and now there is no forest fire, which is obviously fatal for spruce, more fatal than for a pine, for example. So we have got eradicated those things, and the spruce grow wild. And all of those species which live on spruce are sort of like, they are nature's way of keeping it at bay, keeping the ecosystems at balance, and we have disturbed that, so we are once again the guilty party on this equation. Now, the spruce needles are very hard sustenance for animals, but capercaillies, however you should pronounce it, eat them in the harsh winter months. Moose eat them as well, and well, you can sort of put them in water and boil them for a while to make sort of tea, if you wish, but it's not very good. And then squirrels eat the young branch tips, which are very healthy for humans as well. You know, the sort of very light green ones which come to springtime. You can eat them raw, and they are very full of vitamins and sustenance, very good for you. So you can use spruce as a sustenance if you want. And the spruce cones are very important for squirrels once again, and woodpeckers, and what's that bird with that sort of beak? I don't remember what it is, but anyway, sparrowhawk, goldcrest, black woodpecker, carpenter ant. Those are just few of the species which are indigenous to spruce forests, and they are brilliant species. I mean, goldcrest, for example, is tiny, tough little bird. It's usually wonders. Well, I will make another episode of goldcrests sometime in the future, perhaps. But anyway, and the sparrowhawk is just brilliant, and the black woodpecker, when you hear their echoey sound in these sort of forests, it just sends shivers down your spine. There are many animals and plants and bacteria and mushrooms which are reliant on spruce. So important bits of Finnish forests, especially, and very distinctive, because there's very peculiar feeling in the thick old spruce forests. Very intense and brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I love it. There are two different subspecies of spruce here in Finland. There's a Siberian, which is more sort of like northern spruce, more tough, more durable to winter conditions. And then there is European one, which is southern. But more or less, spruce is the first and most vulnerable tree here in Finland, which suffers the most from the climate change, the warming temperatures. So it will reduce in numbers. But as it was when the climate cooled after the warm era, after the ice age, when the spruce firstly got here, it is only natural that they retrieve when the climates once again warm up. But as ever. That is also our fault now. The climates are shifting, and they are shifting so rapidly that the animals which now host these magnificent woods don't have time to adapt to ongoing change because it's so rapid, and it is on us humans and our society. For shame. As it turns out, I did know a little something about spruce. They have got absolutely brilliant lives, glorious deaths, and I absolutely adore them. See you soon.